Roman
didn't get all the clues until the third round.
Is it on?
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Wait.
Almost like a California cowboy.
Can you check and see, Nicholas, if that's right? What do I do? Alright, is it recording us?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sweetie voted who did it? Frank. Because Richard was taking his land, he cared about Annabelle a lot, and Richard would hurt Annabelle and his mom. Best costume, Lulu Peachy. Best performance, Sheriff Ben. Clyde. We'll do, you know what we'll do? We'll just, who did it, we'll say,
who did it.
Yeah, and then we'll tally up best performance and stuff like that. Okay. Nick, who did it? Nick voted that it was Nicholas Reed.
You voted for who? I
Shotgun.
don't even have a weapon.
You're a suspect.
No.
Lavinia voted who did it was Annabelle. Guy voted that it was Luke because he wanted Annabelle, and killing Mr. Woods would let that happen. Okay. Roman voted that it was Clyde because he was the first on the scene.
Hey, that was good.
That was good reading.
Yeah, it was.
Papa, Larry, said that Luke did it for...
You killed Mr. Richards!
And
And I never gonna get my money back now! Bang, bang, bang!
Your gun wasn't loaded, man.
Les voted that Miss Margaret Reed, the shop owner, did it because they were owed money.
That smirk on her face.
Or those singing motions.
Miss Margaret Reed voted that it was Nicholas Reed because he wanted Mr. Richard to pay up and was real mean to people.
Yeah, especially Luke.
Duke voted that he thought it was Luke because he left to go to town the morning of the murder, and he thinks that he also stole Mr. Wood's gun. I mean, Mrs. Wood's gun. Okay. Teeny voted that it was Frank Reyes because Mr. Woods was beating up Annabelle. Uncle voted that it was Frank the killer. Same page here. Abe voted that it was Frank the killer because he really liked Annabelle and he knew a lot of information and insight to the whereabouts and times and place that Richard was. Ben voted that he thinks Luke did the murder.
Basically, it's for the same reason.
Okay.
You know the problem?
Crimes of passion.
Can I read
The school teacher, because she had no reason to.
Yeah. Okay, ready?
Can I change mine real quick?
No.
Really?
This is sealed and has been sealed since we downloaded it. I did not read it.
Oh yeah. Who did you say did it again?
I think Annabelle did it. Well, Red Eye and Springleaf were together, so they didn't do it. I think it was Annabelle or Luke.
Eddie. Who's Eddie?
Okay, do not read this section till the end of the party. See, wait a minute, I'm explaining something. This was how it printed, so. So this is.
Oh, we get to this.
Oh, this is interesting. Guess what? I didn't know this. Everybody gets to read their own section out of this book.
Ah.
So when you have to read it, you have to come up. So this is my part. If I ever made a big mistake, it was marrying that no good cowboy. I was a prisoner in my own home. I admit I thought many times of killing him. When he told me that he was going to make my beautiful Annabelle marry that pig of a man, Harold Edgar, I just saw red and I wanted to kill him. I admit I got the gun out after he left for town, but it was only to shoot that rattlesnake. I couldn't go after him because it was Springleaf's day off and I needed to stay at the house and work. And besides, Annabelle and Richard had taken the only available horses. It couldn't have been me. Clyde.
I'm next.
Yep.
Governor, you should no more than a head. Okay?
Right.
Been doing that all night long.
I was fed up with being humiliated by Richard Woods. If it wasn't for the fact that we needed money, that I'd get by being a sheriff, I would have gladly thrown him in jail for the rest of his life. I know everyone thinks I'm a bit soft and weak, but I reached the end of my tether with the whole issue of Eddie. So I went out with a gun to have it out with him, man to man. I'd show them who was soft. But when I found him, he was already dead, as a dodo. Someone got there before me. Joe?
So I guess it wasn't me and it wasn't him. I don't know.
Probably gonna be like the last person.
We know that's nobody's ever last.
Yeah.
The way Richard Woods treated Catherine just made me mad as a rattlesnake. I sure would have loved to get him out of the way so Catherine and I could be happy. But I didn't kill him. I admit I was tempted to cut his throat when I was shaving him. I would have been doing everybody a favor if I did it. But I would have landed me in jail for a very long time. On the morning of the murder, I took my gun and rode out to Frank's place, but talked to him about what we could do about the situation. Frank?
Darn.
You're not here, huh?
That's what I
You're
pictured.
not the murderer.
Well, there's 3 or 4 people wrong, huh?
That's not saying you should have. Should have.
You had good reason.
Yeah, you did. The whole people.
After Annabelle told me her father was going to make her marry Harold, I resolved to do something to stop it. It was all just too much. First he cut off the water, too much of my property. Then he accuses my workers of killing his cattle, and then he upsets Annabelle. She told me where he had gone, so after she left, I got my gun and saddled my horse. But then Joe arrived to have a chat, and I couldn't leave. I resolved to do something after he left, but someone beat me to it. Eddie.
Well, if it wasn't Eddie. Who are we down to?
Even though he wrongly accused me of killing his cow and threatening to hang me, I wouldn't have killed him because I'm very religious and the Bible says, "Thou shalt not kill." I was scared of him because he has a lot of power. I admit I was out on the morning he died and I did have my gun with me, but I only shot ducks. I would never kill a person, never. I'll pray for his soul.
Just ducks.
Who's the next one?
Luke Hansen.
Hey, this is just what I'm saying.
Yeah, it does. They're all feeling good. They had a reason.
I thought if I killed her father, Annabelle and I would be free to marry. I know she loves me and I love her, but I also knew if I killed him, I would most likely be found out and then go to jail or even be hung. I wouldn't be much use to Annabelle then, and maybe she would still marry Harold. I decided to sit tight and help someone else do the job for me. There were enough people who hated him.
Who's the next person?
I was betting on
thought it was.
I never thought about him.
That was really.
I never thought about Roman being the one. I never thought about it being.
Maybe it was real close. Yeah, you had so much.
Maybe a crack shot.
Stop, guys.
I may be a crack shot, but I don't kill unless I have a very good reason. I admit, I'm very fond of Springleaf. Why, I just can't get her out of my mind.
Booty.
And would do anything to protect her, which is why we are going to go away from Machado, so she wouldn't have to worry about the likes of Richard Wood. On the day he was murdered, I was with Springleaf watching the sunrise, and I only had eyes and thoughts for her.
Really?
Nunu, come here, Nunu.
Oh, Lulu. So cute.
I had every reason to want Richard dead, but I did not kill him. With him out of the way, I could resume my life and maybe save enough money to get away from this flea-bitten town and its bad memories. On the day he died, I did go out riding, but in another direction, as far as away from him as possible. Really?
We're narrowed down to Annabelle.
Who's that?
Grandma and Auntie Pickle.
Who hasn't talked?
Papa's a suspect.
He's a witness. There he is.
Could be Papa.
Okay,
He's not a witness. It's a suspect.
it's not
It's
nice
grandma.
to hate people I know. Hello? It's not nice to hate people I know. But I really hated Mr. Woods because he treated me so badly. He treated me like I was an animal. But I couldn't have killed him because I was with Red as the sun, as I call him, and we were nowhere near the river.
Who's it saying it?
Margaret Reed.
Damn it!
No. Hey.
Well, Nick still hasn't went.
No, neither is she.
Oh, you're not a suspect, but you know what?
That doesn't mean
That doesn't mean she
did.
is.
Yeah.
Just overlook
Because,
completely.
Yeah.
no, because there's no way that I could have done it. Because I had a shotgun. There was bullet holes in it.
That's connection.
I was getting fed up with the annoyance of Richard Woods. How dare he refuse to pay us what he owes us? We had worked too hard in our little business to have him ruin it just like that. And it was ruining poor Nicholas's health. And so it was either Richard or us. I decided to ride out and meet him to give him an ultimatum. And if he tried to fob me off, I was going to shoot him. Fortunately, someone else had the same idea and got there first. Annabelle?
Where do you want, school teacher?
Want to get her gun?
Okay, listen up.
Ready? I murdered my father.
He did it.
I felt I had no choice but to kill him. He had not only made my life terrible, but my mother's life as well. I idolized him when I was a little girl, but I grew to hate him when I realized what a monster he was. If I didn't kill him, he would have made me marry horrible Harold, and I'd rather die than marry him. If I had just run away with Luke, I knew my mother would have be kept a prisoner by Daddy for the rest of her days. And I knew that if my father lived, he would have hanged poor Eddie, Luke's best friend. I knew exactly where he was heading because I left him a note saying that the river was not up, even though it was. He would not have recognized my handwriting and accepted my advice because I spent a lot of time riddling and riding and knew the area well. There was no one else who could have left him the note. My mother was there, so she would not have told him she would have told him rather than not written a note. Springleaf was not there, and she can't ride anyway. I left him the note because I planned to kill him. Someone was seen riding on the cliffs. That was me. I doubt that Luke or anyone else would have the guts to kill him, and I am a good shot. My father taught me well.
Who gets Annabelle?
I did.
Annabelle what?
See, now my two choices is either gonna be Mom or Annabelle.
I guess Annabelle.
But see, I didn't think.
You!
But see, I didn't think Annabelle. Where am I gonna go? Uncle, you need to come up front, Shorty.
Yeah.
Nick.
There you go.
Okay, Guy, Ben.
There you go.
Teeny, stand in front of
So I'm gonna go stand like in between. I'm gonna stand on your side, babe.
I'm gonna come down in front.
Move
Okay.
a little bit, guy.
Are you playing?
Yeah, it's taping right now, so
Okay.
you can get it.
Babe, you're not being seen very well. Can you stiffen on? Mom, there you go. Get down, Mom.
Kneel down with me.
It's on in there.
Okay.
There you go, and I'll stand right there.
Are Duke and Roman in?
Yeah, they're in.
Check my tape.
Okay, you're good. Here we go.
Run.
Good, run.
Okay.
Smile, hurry up.
Jeez. All right. Cool. Hopefully it worked.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It was like, whoa. I think my gun back. Give me my gun back.
Okay.
So we can take more family group pictures later if we want.
Yeah.
Now that I remember that
Let's
picture.
film me. I mean, the show.
Oh, okay, here we go. We're gonna see who's the best dressed. Okay. You got
This one will do the same thing.
Yeah.
Do this. Throw that
Okay,
little
first
timer.
prize
What
for
little
the
timer?
person who guessed
looks so
correctly
Throw it right there.
would be me.
Put it in focus.
$20. Miss
Hit it.
Woods.
Set it
Miss
down. Hit it.
Catherine Woods, because her daughter's a murderer.
What did you win?
That would be a $20 bill.
What category?
Stick it where nobody can find it except
She's
for
the
Joe
one.
later.
Oh, for the guest.
So what are you gonna hit?
Well, Joe's the one who wanted you.
Oh,
Yeah, so who are you gonna ride off into the sunset with? Frank or Joe?
Okay, best dressed gets a $10 prize, and you know back in them days, $10 was a lot of money. That goes to Miss Lulu.
Post a little picture.
Let's see.
Sweetie, hold on.
Oh, that's a nice little pose.
Okay. Best performance in their character would be me. So since I'm not gonna
James
win,
Riggs.
yeah, I'm telling the both. You want to see them? So instead, we're gonna have, since I don't want to win the prizes, we're gonna win. The second place, best dressed, is Teeny Donlins.
James, I voted for you. I just want you to know I voted for you.
Springleaf costume, and she gets $5. Okay, thank you very much for attending. Okay, wait,
Good evening, everyone,
Good evening.
and welcome.
Plug in your lights. Sorry.
Welcome to the Brickies Blast to the Task 50s.